people are very passionate about the Razorbacks. This is a great state. I think it's a very nice, pleasant, hardworking. I can't say enough about the time that I had here before, and it was an easy yes to coach.
I've heard all kinds of stories through the years. Got to know a lot of coaches come through here and hear a lot of sweet stories about what they loved about Arkansas. And what is it about Arkansas that now obviously Sam Pittman is a big deal, but just what were your memories and why did Arkansas fire you up again?
You know, we loved living here. You know, I think it was actually very close to the time that I came back, but about maybe a month or so before. But I was with my kids, and I was like, "Okay, where's your favorite place you live?" Because we've moved around.
You have life of a coach.
That's what we do, and they both said Fayetteville was first, and I think it was. I just think it's just the people. You know, to me, it's all about people. It's not where you're at; it's who you're with. Whether that, I think that in coaching too, you know, it's not where you're coaching, it's who you're coaching with. It's not who you're the player, but who you're coaching, and you know, the communication that you have and the relationships that you build that way. But I just think this is a very special community, in particular Fayetteville in this area. The people were always very down to earth, very friendly. They were great to my kids, great to me. These fans here are passionate to be the only, obviously it's very unique that you're you know, there's no pro teams here, and you know, I get it. It's good and bad sometimes if you know, don't call the right play, you got people pissed at you a little bit, but that's par for the course too. I'm used to that too. I've been in and out of that, but
they do that at Alabama too, don't they, Coach?
Yeah, I've been some places where I'm not going to mention anymore that gets a little tough, but the people are very passionate about the Razorbacks. This is a great state. I think it's a very just nice, pleasant, hardworking, great community, and I can't say enough about the time that I had here before. And it was an easy yes to coach for that reason.
I'll give you. You were a little lucky. I'm going to tell you. Be honest. You had the Allen family. All of them.
Yeah, I was asking
Fayetteville's finest.
Coach Allen, like they had another boy coming up after Austin, but because those two guys were great to coach. They're great players, but more importantly, they're great people, and they were very coachable. You know,
good dad.
Oh, and when I first got hired, Coach Bielema was telling me, you know, when we were going through the courting process the first time. I'm like, who you guys have at quarterback? And then we got Brandon Allen, you know, he's gonna be a senior. And Coach Bielema, was like, Dan, I think he's a great player. He goes, I don't think he's reached his ceiling. I think he's a great player. And Coach Bielema really believed him. And he said, his brother Austin's here. I said, who? He said, his brother. I said, he's got a brother on the team? Quarterback? Yeah, he's good too. He's gonna be a good player. I said, oh, okay. And then they said, his dad works here. I said, what? You know, so I started thinking right away, quarterback dads, because quarterback dads have a reputation. So I was like, Coach, how's that gonna work? He said, you don't have to worry about Coach Allen, you know. And so I was a little, I guess, reluctant to see how this was so gonna work, but.
Well, you can envision some scenarios good, some maybe not so good.
Coach Allen was harder on him than I was, so he was easy. You know, he'd be waiting for him after practice, and he'd be waiting there like, what were you thinking on this? You know, and I was like, well, I'd walk away, and I'm like, this is great. I'm like, I can go be the good cop, because, you know, it was awesome. It was awesome to see what you could see after meeting Coach Allen and his wife, and getting to know them, and then obviously sitting in the room with Brandon and Austin. Like, what an A+ family. They're great people, and to see, obviously see the continued success that Brandon has had has just been really fun for me, I know, to watch, and I know that his family and everybody got to be proud of him, but great people.
So how have things changed around here? I mean, was just, you know, the building, just everything?
Yeah, I mean, the north end zone is awesome, man. That was actually being built, I think, when I was here. I mean, it's awesome, you know, and Obviously, just different upgrades and just being back on campus and going to Bud Walton Arena for a couple basketball games with recruiting. You just feel, you feel that the energy and the passion that the fans have for this place, and it's been good. I got to get out a little bit more and see how much has changed. Coach Pittman's keeping me awful busy here. As soon as I got here, I had to go recruit, and now spring ball. So
he is into recruiting now, isn't he?
Oh man, he's. I tell you what, he's awesome, man. He does a tremendous job. Coach Pittman is highly, and I've worked for, Coach Saban and Coach Bielema and Mark D'Antonio, and I've coached for what I feel are, Luke Fickell, some really good coaches. And Coach Pittman, man, he's a tremendous football coach. He's a great person. He cares about the players, but we're disciplined, we're organized, we're efficient with our time.
Structure.
Great structure. He is a bulldog in recruiting. I mean, he demands it from us, and then he demands it from himself. He's awesome.
I've always had a lot of respect for Dan, and him as a man, him as a coach, as a play caller. I mean, great quarterback coach. Dan's just a good man.
You brought him up. It's a reversal of roles. I mean, the offensive coordinator is the head coach in the room, and I know you are really structured in the room. You have accountability among your offensive coaches. That's a big part of Dan Enos,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Which is all good. So you had that over Sam. Now, how's that going, Coach?
It's going great because I respect him, and I have obviously respect for that position, but I respect Coach Pittman in particular before. And when I was here with him, I wasn't really over him. Like Coach Pittman and I worked together, and he was very, I probably shouldn't say this, I might get fired, but he was stubborn a little bit too when I first got here about some things, Coach and I.
Blocking schemes, right?
Oh yeah, and not in a bad way, but like yeah, but we very particular about how we did things, and we had some great talks and how we protected and how run game, and then we meshed it, and it was great. And I'll be honest with you, he was one of the best assistant coaches that I ever worked with. I mean, he was a great recruiter. He was very detailed in his teaching, in his individual periods, and how he did things, and great communicator. He's a great communicator, and those obviously are all characteristics that it takes to be a great head football coach, and that's what he is.
Was not something that you allowed Austin and Brandon to run? Didn't want those boys getting hit too much, right?
Well, we just, at that time, wasn't, to be honest with you, we didn't really dabble in that. We weren't familiar with that. And then a little bit in my third year, we started to branch off and with the RPO stuff. And obviously it's become such a huge part of not just the college game, but the NFL game as well. And one thing I've always been really big on is that I try not to do things that I don't know how to do. I think in coaching sometimes you can fool yourself and think you know how to run a scheme or run something, but if you really don't know how to fix all the problems with it, then you don't really know how to run it. So I was a little bit hesitant to run some of those things. We had a lot of what we call add-ons. So we have what we call add-ons and we have RPOs. And for us, in our system, an add-on is some sort of pass with a run, but the quarterback makes a pre-snap decision. He says before the ball snapped, he says yes or no, yes I'm throwing it or no I'm not. We've always been doing those, and those have been really good for us. Well, now we've gotten this RPO world, which people call run pass option. Well, it is a running play with a pass play, but now this is a post-snap decision. This is a decision that is made after the ball snapped, and there's a defensive player that we're putting in conflict, meaning we're not blocking him. And if he, basically to keep it very simple, if he plays pass, we run. If he plays run, we throw the ball and kind of like take advantage of his aggressive nature, if that makes sense. So in 15, 16, 17, we were add-ons. We were gun, we were under, we were multiple. I think we've just continued to grow and develop, and now we've added this whole nother area and package of things we do, and we're going through the process right now of laying the foundation of what the offense is going to be, and we're learning about, we're teaching the system, but we're also learning about our players, and I think through the course of all this, you're going to find out what your personality is going to be, and you're going to figure out who your best players are and what's the best way to use those guys. But I do think, obviously, like the RPO stuff, you speak of Brandon and Austin, they would have been great at it because both those game I think they would have really enjoyed.
Well, those teams really had some nice pieces.
We had two really, really talented tight ends in Hunter and Jeremy, and so we basically, I think, after we did the end of the season, quality control, we were almost, I think, 60% on the year being in two tight end sets. And really that's not your personality every year, but obviously those were our best players. And I'll give Hunter and Jeremy, those guys were so much fun to coach because they were so smart. Like we moved those guys around, like we would get into empty with those guys. We put Jeremy in the backfield in the I formation, and we had Hunter outside, had him inside. And those guys were so versatile, but as athletes, but more importantly, the mental capacity that they had, those two guys, they were so smart. We ran all sorts of stuff with them, and it made coaching a lot of fun. But then you get into other years, if you don't have two like that, then you're more one tight end set, and then maybe you're more three wides. And again, that's the process that we're going through right now as a staff. I know me being new, of trying to figure out who our playmakers are going to be, who's the best guys to get on the field, how do we utilize their ability, and at the end of the day, get our best players the ball and let them play.
Well, you've kind of summarized coaching to me as identifying players, and then you have a vast playbook, and then you take slices of this and this and this, and then fit it to them. And if you try to do it the other way, it's an ugly offense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this isn't like, hey, we're shoving this play down your throat. Like we have our system, and I think our system's very diverse. I think we have within the run game, zone, man, gap schemes. We have RPOs, we have add-ons, we have play action, and we have I think a very good wide variety of a drop back game. We have a good screen game. So we have all these things, and then you install them, you teach them, you work on them, the kids understand them, and then you figure out, okay, here's what we do best. And every year it changes. Some years we ran this way better than we ran that, and so we emphasize that. And then I think as a coach, what I've had to fight myself with, and what I think I've become better at as I enter year 32 as a college coach, is that I may think this is the best play, but it doesn't fit, and I have to be able to then adapt and say, I like that play, but you know what? Our players are running this play better, or we're doing this better, and then you got to adapt, and you can't just continue to force something if it's not there. And then, on top of that, then you have to get to know your quarterbacks. What does KJ do? What does Jacoby Criswell do? If he's in the game, you with me? And so all these reps, all these meetings, all these things that we get to do right now are so good for not only the players, but for me and for our coaches as well, because we get to know and understand them. And then hopefully then, if we're forced into a situation where this person's in the game or that person's in the game, I can go like, okay, here's what he does, and here's what this guy does. And then you try to like tailor to them, so.
Hit, come on, have pride. Who's gonna win it? Hit, who's gonna get middle target? Hit, who's gonna get it every time? Same thing coming back, face me.
You mentioned another quarterback, and I know you're a long ways from picking a backup, but I just finished Jimmy Johnson's book, Swagger, and the concept of football, he said, used to be the two most important things: your starting quarterback, your franchise, and it could be NFL or college, it doesn't matter, and your defense. And if you have those two things, that you win. And he says the next most important player was a pass rusher, an edge rusher.
Yep.
And he says that's not right anymore. the next most important player is your backup quarterback. And he said he's changed totally from that. And if you go back to last year's Arkansas season, when KJ was out there, they were, it was tough to stop, but it changed dramatically when he went out for a couple of games. Your thoughts on those concepts?
Well, I would agree, obviously, with Coach. I mean, he's got a lot more experience than I do, but I've seen it firsthand. I just, when you mention that, I think of experiences I've had. For example, at Maryland last year, we were playing Indiana, and Tagovailoa gets hurt, our starter and our guy, and our backup came in, and we were losing, and in the fourth quarter, and he brought us back, and we won the game, Billy Edwards. But this goes to the point of having a very good, capable backup. And then the next week, he had to play in a Big Ten game, our backup, and he won the game. So anyway, you think, well, we
had
8 games. We won 8 games last year, and we would have probably had a difficult time if we'd have lost those games. We wouldn't have gone to a bowl game. The whole complexion of the season changes, and then obviously compared to winning our bowl game, getting 8 wins, and everybody's excited. But I totally agree. And then even back when I was at Alabama in 2018, we're losing to Georgia in the SEC championship game, 28-14, and late in the third quarter, and have no momentum. And Tua gets hurt, and Jalen Hurts comes off the bench, and that's a pretty good backup quarterback, I would say, probably Jalen Hurts. But he comes in and plays really well, and
that may be an understatement.
Yeah, but then I think about it too. Like when Billy came in last year, when I was at Maryland, he's different. Like he didn't complete a pass in the last 3 drives and took him down for I think 3 touchdowns. But because he did things different than Talia. And the same thing when we were at Alabama, when Tua got hurt, Jalen came in. Mike Loxley was the coordinator. He really then started to tailor what he was calling base tips, what we had just talked about, what Jalen was most comfortable with and what he did best. And I think that's obviously the sign of like good coaching, understanding their players. But all goes back to this. That position is so important. And it's important because if you have a really good football team and all of a sudden, well, we don't have a quarterback, that changes everything. You have to say, okay, God forbid anything happens to that guy. We don't want that to happen, but if something should, we got to have someone in place that he maintains the level and the standard of excellence that our football team has. Not, oh no, we're going to have to do all these other things to win. And I think that's really important. But also, I'll speak on the fact of we have a starter, right? But I'm always as a quarterback coach, I'm excited about developing the young guys too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who do we have? Not just the 2, but who's the 3 and maybe who's the 4 or like, that's my job is to just constantly be coaching these guys like they're the starter or going to be the starter tomorrow and trying to develop them. But that's the fun part. And I think the hard thing with today's football, with the transfer portal, is it's hard to get guys to buy in, to develop and maybe be a backup for a couple years because they all want instant success and they all want to play. Back when I played at Michigan State, I sat for 3 years and I started for 2 years. That was the process. You had a fourth and fifth year guy play. I felt you were like really, really fortunate if you played third, fourth, fifth year. But then you had 2 guys underneath that you were developing and no one was transferring, no one was leaving. And now sometimes it's hard to predict next year who's going to be here, right? You don't want anybody to go. You want these young men to look at it and go, it's a process I'm going to develop. And usually I think when guys, especially a quarterback, there's rare cases, but usually when you stick it out and you go through the process, usually you come out pretty clean on the other side.
It's good life lessons too.
Yeah.
Because in business it doesn't always just happen like that. I'll give you a million examples of that. When the business took off in year 5 and year 10, it didn't. Year 1, 2, 3 was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
KJ, set out redshirted 1 year, then served as a back. Franks comes in, out of the blue and he could have left and made this decision to stay and learn under Felipe Franks.
That's a great example. Great example. And look at KJ now. Look at the benefits he has had. So that's a great example, and that's a great decision on his part. Very mature, to be honest with you.
Well, let's talk about KJ and what you see. And I assume you watched some tape of him and probably saw that BYU where 5 guys banged him around and he makes that play and did it again in the bowl game, I think.
Yeah, he's a special talent. So far, I've been every day I get a little bit more comfortable with him. I think he gets more comfortable with me.
He want to see the best, in you, so he just want to make sure he high expectations for everybody. If you don't reach it or get close to it, then that's when he's really on you.
I've been really impressed by his preparation thus far. He comes to meetings. He's very prepared. He has very good questions. He wants to be coached. He wants to be pushed. He's like I always tell these guys. Like this past season, I had 7 guys in the NFL quarterbacks that I coached or recruited over the years. 7. Okay, now here's what I say to them. They're all different. Every one of them is different. You know, left-hander, right-hander. Some can run, some can't.
Taller,
some
smaller.
are tall, some are short. Like I don't get all wrapped up in all that. Like they're all different, but there are a few commonalities they all possess. A few characteristics they all possess. All of them, and that's one of them is preparation, and another one is competitiveness. They want to be great. They don't want to be told you're great. They want to be told here's what you need to get better at so that you can continue to develop and get better. And I think I know KJ has that. He's been like a sponge. He's like taking notes. He's asking questions and. We're having some really good conversations, and I think he's really smart. I think he's a really good leader. He's been a very good communicator. He's very talented. He's very instinctive, and that's another trait that those guys all have. They're instinctive players. Like you don't have to tell them, like every time. Like I can't tell you every situation that may happen. Like if this guy does that, this way. We have rules and we do things, but there's always going to be that. What do I do now? And he's made some very good decisions instinctively about things already that I see. You know what? That guy's really, really special.
Holtz told me one time, says that's called overcoming coaching.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I try to.
You put all that stuff in him and then boom, he does that.
I try to go through all the contingency plans of everything. We have answers for stuff and we have rules built in and all that. But like yesterday at practice, like twice, I was like, man, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, blah, blah. And I said, thank you, great answer.
More power to you.
Yeah, I'm like, that's really good stuff. And I said, and I tell the guys, you got to trust your instincts because a lot of them have them and they don't trust them yet, especially when they're young. KJ's older, obviously he's played a lot of football, so it's easier for him. But for younger quarterbacks, they have an instinct like I should, but they don't have the confidence to do it. And then what I try to do is I try to instill that confidence in them and then give them, empower them to do that. And I said, and I tell them, you're gonna make mistakes and that's okay. Practice is where I'd rather have us make all these mistakes in practice, figure it out, and then in the game, we know what we can do and what we can't do. And that's part of what practice is,
They're learning your lingo, and Sam was really firm, and Sam's been on a lot of staffs and he's had to learn lingo, and he's like, hey, the coaches, I've seen it where, a coordinator made us learn their lingo, and then there's times the head coach has made the new coordinator learn the team's lingo.
Yep.
What Sam expressed was this works better for you to be thinking, and that there's enough time with the new rules to smooth it out. I mean, have you seen growth in the thinking and their clicking with the words?
Yeah, it's really night and day, I think, from what they had done. And you're right. I was actually surprised when I asked Coach when we were going through the process of me coming here. One of the first things I asked was, "What you want me to keep terminology?" Nope, change it. He said, "I plan on you being here a long time, so if we're going to change it, let's do it." And I was like, "Okay." So what we've done with the coaches that were here in the past, with Coach Kennedy and Coach Guyton and Coach Smith, is I've tried to blend them a little bit when possible, meaning like we call it this, but what'd you guys call it last year? Oh, we didn't have that. Okay, call it this. But oh yeah, we did have that. Okay, what'd you guys call it? We call it this. Okay, does that fit? We go through it. So that's what the whole
It's not
month
hard
of
for you
February is
to-
for.
yeah.
So there's a lot of new stuff. We try to blend some of it if we could. But the players, yeah, they're doing a good job. And Coach Pittman's correct. You know, with the way the rules have changed now, we can do more with them in the off season. Which, man, back in the day, that was very difficult to do anything. So I think we're a little ahead of schedule that way. But when you say learn a new lingo with the quarterbacks, it's not just the system. It's like how to speak, like how we communicate, like terms I use, movement keys, conflict players, you know, an alert compared to a pre-snap. You know what I mean? And that's getting better, but that's only going to happen.
Yeah, it's not this much. It's that much.
And that's what I tell them. I say, guys, it's like we're walking into the room right now, and I'm in, you know, Latin 5, and you're in Latin 1. You know, like, and we have to learn how to speak and communicate to one another. And, you know, whether it's identifying defenses and fronts and different coverages and how they're playing things. And so that when you do get into those competitive situations, whether it be scrimmages in practice or games, there's quick dialogue. And quick dialogue's got to be me saying bop bop and them understanding exactly what I'm saying and not going, what's he talking about? You know? Yeah. So, but this has been really good, but it happens in these meetings. It happens in practice. It happens right now. That's what we're doing all this stuff for. And I got to be honest with you, the quarterback group as a whole, I'm very excited about the group. They've been very attentive. They're talented, but they love ball, man. Like, yeah. It's been good to be in there, and they ask good questions, and we've had some really good conversations.
The two best qualities, I mean, I know arm strength is great. I've talked to, you know, NFL quarterback coaches, and they said the two most important qualities are intellect and competitive spirit.
Yep. And I'll even take it one step further. Like, competitive spirit, I think, is off the charts, and I've even said intelligence, but I use the term functional intelligence, you know, meaning that some guys are book smart, you know, and they take tests and they got a 4.0, and then it doesn't apply to processing and decision making, maybe a little slower, you know what I mean? But the ability to functionally process and get through and make good decisions, I think is very important. And to be quite honest with you, some of the super smart guys I've coached over the years, they get over analytical sometimes. Like they play the game out. Like one of our big things is we have these commandments. We have our quarterback commandments, and one of them, the first one is don't make any premeditated decisions. Meaning, don't before the ball snap decide, Bill, based on what happened last time or happened this time, this is going to happen. Like, it's a game played by human beings.
I'm going to force this to happen.
That's exactly right. It's played by humans who they're going to move and they're going to react. It's a game of reaction and adjusting off reactions. And sometimes the really, 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 really smart ones, you know, are like, well, coach, last time, you know, and like it's like, hey, this isn't a math equation. This is going to be a little bit different. But those two things are very important. That's why, you know, one of the things I like to do when I recruit a high school quarterback is I like to go watch them play other sports. And I like, in particular, basketball. I like to watch guys play basketball. And the competitive spirit you talk about, see, when a guy plays football and he's a quarterback, he's usually pretty emotionally stable the entire time. You're supposed to be like a coach. You're supposed to not get too high, get too low, play the next play. I like to watch him play basketball when I can see some of that feistiness come out in a gym, covering somebody or making a tough shot, getting hard fouled, how they respond, you know what I mean? And
reacting to officials.
100%. Like being in, I like going, I if I can work it out, which all the time you can, I like to go watch them play in a hostile gym. I like to go away. People are on their butts a little bit because of their football stuff, and then see how they respond and react. And over the years, I've seen some pretty good ones. But if guys are competitive, that usually is going to bring out the passion and bring out the preparation in them.